Why did you hate me so much when we met?
I did. Only for making me want you so badly. I still don't know if I can control myself.
And I know that you can hardly control yourself because you're wanting to have a full report so badly, or maybe you're the type that hates it. That's okay, we can make it through this. Look, there's a rubric very clearly for this homework, which is called Fish Oil and SDA. The idea is pretty simple. We have rats. They are taking fish oil to increase ovulation, but there could be allergies to fish oil, so there's a different drug, SDA, which is also being tested. Does it increase ovulation? If you want to find the data set, go to my webpage. We're talking uil.edu/Crawford. That should take you here. We come down to the methods course, and we are looking for homework data sets. That's this one right here. Example data sets I'm going to show you in some of the videos. Here at the homework data sets, there is oil and SDA, and this should pull up the data set. Notice that we don't have the same sample size. There were more rats who took fish oil than rats who took SDA. That actually doesn't matter. It should be fine. And your goal with this homework is to test whether the SDA drug can help ovulation just as much as rats. So let's go through some of the ideas of how do you write a paper. Start off with an introduction, and you need to explain the goal of the paper. This is important. We're not just interested in testing these two averages. We're not just interested in whether we can get rats to ovulate. We're interested in helping women start families. This is a drug that could be useful for people who want to have kids and it's not happening. And if you've ever known someone who's gone through this, it's a big deal. So make it sound like your report has value, more than just we're going to see whether we can have rats ovulate the same or see whether these averages are the same. Why does it matter? Then explore the data. There should be some sort of picture. Talk about oil, talk about SDA. That way when you get down to what are you using to analyze this, if it's a Z or T test, you'll need to talk about whether the assumptions that you need to do the test are valid. How are you going to analyze this data? You've got a lot of options. It should be from your intro class that you could look at these numbers, calculate the averages, calculate the standard deviations, and do the test by hand. If you feel like you're not sure you remember how to do that, you can throw it in Excel, and Excel will give you the averages and the standard deviation, or it'll actually run the t-test if you're comfortable with how to use Excel. Another important option is to move forward to the next chapter where we start talking about how do you use R. Down here in Module 3, and one of the very first things that I would show you how to do in R is to run t-tests like exactly what you need here. So there are several options. I don't really care at this point in the class which option you pick. We will eventually get into things where you'll need to be able to use R. But for right now, analyze these whichever way you feel most comfortable with, test whether the averages are equal or not, and state the results, including the p-value. Now, something really important here is don't just say the p-value and whether you reject or fail to reject the null as if that was a conclusion. Our whole goal was to say, could this drug replace fish oil so that women who want to start a family can? That's what needs to be in your report. Some sort of final conclusion of, will this drug work as a substitute for women who have an allergy to fish and want to start a family? So notice here, make sure your conclusion is in context and make sure it looks good like a report. In the rubric, how does it work? Well, this is what's called critical fail rubric. You start with 100% at the very beginning. That's this right here. 100% is what you begin with, and everything that's wrong takes off points. It is possible for you to lose more than 100 points, which means you could end up with negative points on this assignment, and that's not weird or unusual to have that happen. Remember that in the grade book, your grade will show 100% for turning in the assignment. It's the final project where the grading is like this. It's called critical fail because there's things you can do that are so bad that you've made it so that your report can't really be used by the client. And that's important. This is common, for example, in medical studies where if you're drawing blood from a patient, we don't care if you did everything right. If you kill the patient, you're not going to pass your blood draw test. So what things do we need to watch for? Well, a title. And the title shouldn't just be fish oil and SDA because that's the name of the homework. But that could be up to 2 points right there. The intro, make sure that you say what you're trying to do and why is it important. Some plots of the data that was actually asked for in the assignment. What program did you use? Some of you will use R, some of you might use Excel or doing it by hand with a calculator. Define your alpha and the p-value, and then tie it back to fish oil and SDA. That's what we really want to know. So make a conclusion about fish oil and SDA. Notice 20 points here. If you write a beautiful report, but you never say whether SDA could be used as a substitute for fish oil, you've missed the point. The client's going to read your report and be like, well, I still don't know. What is the impact of it? Where could this research go in the future? And make sure that you have good writing skills. So go write this report. Don't worry about how it's going to hurt your grade because you get 100%. And then as you do this, you'll be able to see a little more clearly the kind of things we're looking for on that final project.